Welcome to the show, Mr. Gopichand.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, congratulations on Gayatri and Sai Vishnu for carrying forward the legacy of both the parents.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And of course, needless to mention, congratulations on the historic Thomas Cup win too. We have heard from the players what it meant for them. What does it mean for you personally?
I think for me, for all of us in the badminton fraternity, and in some senses the sporting fraternity, I think this victory is very big. Um, I think very few times in the past in any sport have we achieved this kind of a success at a team level in a world sport, and I'm very very happy that this has come out in badminton, and we have a team which actually has bought something very very big for our country.
Great. Why do you think that this Indian men's team grown stronger as a unit? Because this has been a massive team win.
Well, I think there've been quite a few causes for it. I think one would be the steady rise of badminton over the years. I think there's been a lot of effort put in by a lot of people, a lot of support from the Badminton Association of India, a lot of support from the Sports Authority and the government, and various individuals over time actually have contributed. It's really great to see the success of other players contribute also to this in terms of confidence, whether it's the Olympic medals in women's singles or whether it's the wins of the previous players in the men's singles and the doubles. I think each one of them have kind of brought in or instilled a sense of confidence into the team. And today, the players in the team believed in themselves, wanted to prove a point in some sense. And I think each one of those players have contributed tremendously. And the spirit behind the entire team, I think, has allowed them to punch in some sense higher than their weight category and produce that result.
Agreed. So you penned a beautiful article on their victory where you spoke about the next difficult target. Have you identified it? What could that be?
Well, I think something as big as a Thomas Cup win in badminton equates to every team championship in the world looking at you, or you at least looking at yourself and saying, I'm a potential medal winner at this event. So that puts in a lot of um, pressure, a lot of responsibility on you. And as in some sense, what the Prime Minister has said, इस दबाव को आप बाहर निकलना है या इस दबाव से आप ऊपर उठना है ना कि इसके नीचे दबना है. So I think the pressure and responsibility should ensure that the players perform better and more responsibly in whatever tournaments they're playing in the future.
Agreed, totally agreed. So, like, do you think that this win has now set a base for a long lasting, successful ecosystem to be put in place?
I think in the last few years, there's been sustained effort from the government, especially to ensure that a systematic project model for sport is developed in the country, and badminton is also striving to be that. I think as an ecosystem, we are diverse, we are large as a country, have grown tremendously in the sport, and it makes it very tough for us also to make a system which with all the stakeholders coming on board. So we are in that process any which ways, and I do hope and with the support of Badminton Association of India, our President Hemant Biswa Sharma, the government and the ministry under the leadership of Mr. Anurag Thakur and our Honorable Prime Minister, I'm sure there is a huge amount of will, and definitely we will be able to streamline and bring a process which actually makes this win more sustainable and more consistent in the future.
Do you think that the model of success, especially what we see in the double pair of Satwik and Chirag Shetty, is what you are aiming to replicate in the women's setup too?
Well, I think we will have definitely the challenges in terms of whichever sport. I'm sure every sport has their strong countries. So in the women's doubles, likewise, we have, say, countries like Korea, China, Malaysia doing very well. And then we, of course, have a few other countries in Europe and maybe even countries like Thailand and um, so we have tough competition. It's not going to be easy, but we also have had some good successes in the women's doubles. We had Gayatri and Teresa reach the semi-finals of the All England for the first time ever, and we've had a couple of wins at the BWF 100 and 300 levels. We have players like Ashwini and Sikhi who are doing well, and also the younger players, even players like Tanisha and um, Shruti Mishra. All of them have been kind of producing those results. We need to, they're all 18, 19 years old. They need to grow older, grow stronger. And I'm sure with experience and with work, we will actually get there in the women's doubles as well.
So you believe that this could be the game changer in our Uber Cup prospects?
I think in some sense, the Uber Cup with Sindhu and Saina there, um, I'm sure could probably have been a much quicker um, place to be reaching it, but somehow this I think when you work together as a team and when you have some strength in your women's doubles, I think even that is possible, and I'm hoping that that's something which we're looking at will happen sooner than later.
Like moving on to my next question, like, is there a role that the government and Sai have played that has worked out too? What more do you think they should focus on?
I think as far as resources are concerned for the top players especially, I think we've been taken care of very, very well. To be honest, I think whether it's the government, whether it's in various forms, whether it's the ACTC budgets or whether it's the top scheme budgets, I think they've done well. Also, the presence of the corporates, the academies actually have really helped. And I do believe that with consistent support for the younger players as well, in terms of, say, the Kelo India and the TOPS development group, which is actually coming to being, I'm sure these projects are very good and they will benefit the younger players as well. So we've had some kind of a time lag because of the COVID. We've had the last 2 3 years, which have actually where we did not have junior events, and because of that, our progression from the junior to the senior or for players who are playing a next level to the next level actually has been missed. But I'm sure with tournaments starting again, with COVID in some sense receding and people getting back to normal, I'm sure we'll get some good opportunities for the younger players who will blossom in the next 2 3 years.
Great to know. And like, how does Prime Minister's regular and informed interactions help the players?
I think I think one is, of course, the players. I think it's a huge motivation because people are saying, "Boss, I get to meet the prime minister if I perform well," and that's huge because you go to a team and like, "Sir, अब semis के बात करें कि qual final के बात करें?" So that's the kind of thing. So people are looking forward to it as an event, like saying that if we win the final, will he call, or if we win the semis, will he still call? So I think that's big. So people, for us, I think it's a big motivation. But more importantly, from my perspective, having seen previous governments and our this prime minister, I would say that when the prime minister is interested in sport, then everybody along the line is interested in sport. So I think that makes a huge difference because people are taking sport seriously, knowing well that the highest office in the land actually is following it. And if people complain or if people are slacking behind, somebody up there is watching it and they are noticing it. This was missing for a long time in Indian sport, where sport was neglected and people were like, I don't want to be the minister, I don't want to be the secretary, or I don't want to head this department because nobody bothers about it. So I think that has changed significantly, and everybody who's in sport is actually there knowing that this department is very important And that has come because of the Prime Minister's direct involvement and interest in the sport.
Perfect. So, like, if we dwell on the larger question, like, what do you now see as our next priorities in the entire badminton system? Where can we innovate from what we have done?
I think if you look at the entire ecosystem of badminton and the results we've produced over time, we've actually excelled in every department, whether it's men's singles, men's doubles, women's doubles, or team events. We've actually done well. So what it actually says is we have the potential to win these big events in every department. So it's up to us to ensure that the younger lot are trained better. There's a system which is actually put in place which ensures that each one of them who has the talent is given a pathway to move up to the top. We should also ensure that the support staff and the coaches are motivated and recognized properly so that they keep contributing to the ecosystem. And I think produce the next people in line so that the top players don't take their place for granted. I think what this win and also the results over the last few years have shown is we have the potential and an opportunity to be a top badminton nation. Although many would suggest that we are a top nation, I still believe that we are still some way away from being that. And I do believe that we have a chance in every department to be there. And it's up to us that in the next few years, we should do that.
Great, and best of luck for that. Like, did you manage to speak to Prakash, sir, and recall the efforts both of you have taken after Thomas Cup triumph?
Yes, I did speak to him, and it was really nice because I think for us and all the seniors who played sport, I think this could have been, in some sense, the pinnacle of a team win or a pinnacle of badminton in some sense. Because I remember even in Prakash's time, they qualified once to the finals. In my time, they qualified to the finals. And when you talk about the finals, we are talking about qualifying to be one of the 16 teams in the world. That is itself a big achievement. And today, the boys actually having going out there to bring out the best results and to be the number one in the world was something which we never imagined could happen. And I think for that to happen today with this young team is something which is wonderful.
So, like, moving on to my next question, how has the presence of Matthias changed the double scenario in the country? Like, he has been phenomenal and has turned Indian doubles team of Satvik and Chirag Shetty a force to reckon to. So, like, what according to you has he done differently than others?
I think it's been great. He was there a week before this event, so um, it was not that there was anything sudden he was doing, but also the fact is that he's worked with the players prior to the Olympics. So he was with them earlier as well. And luckily, when he came on board to join again, I think it was almost like a gap has been filled. And it was great to have him straight away flow in and have the ease with which he gelled into the team and also with the support staff has been amazing. And it's great because Satvik and Chirag have a great relationship and also they believe in Matthias's ability to contribute. And it's also great because Matthias also has a great belief in the players that they want to contribute. So it's a very mutual thing which actually helps us to actually produce better results. So not only is it good for the two players, Satvik and Chirag, but also his presence, I'm sure, will be a great motivation, not only for the men's doubles, but also for the other doubles events as well.
Like, for changing the double scenario in the country. Okay, so like you have always emphasized on coach the coaches program, right? So like where do you see Indian badminton in terms of depth in coaches, and what do you think that needs to be done to bring more Gopichunds to the fourth, who can take Indian badminton to even greater heights?
Well, I think as far as coaches are concerned, I think we should be able to give them the kind of respect and the recognition which is needed, and also need to give them the financial stability or the motivation which is needed. I think there are a lot of good players who actually retired or who will be retiring in the next few years. And I think if you're able to convert some of them into coaches, I think it will be great. The first step would be to ensure that the coaching fraternity or the coaches are respected, and we give them an opportunity to work independently. Of course, I'm all for accountability, but it's important that we are able to motivate them and also give them the right atmosphere to keep working so that they are able to produce results.
Exactly, agreed. So, like as a coach, how difficult is it to manage the egos of the players and strike a right balance within the national camp?
Well, it's over time. It's been when we started off, there were hardly any superstars in the team, but today you have a lot more of that happening. We have people managing them. We have people sponsoring them. We have people who suddenly have a particular interest in players. So there's a lot of things which have actually changed in the sport or also in the society in some sense. So I think there's not um, it's not going to be easy, but this men's team actually has shown that top players can come together and contribute together as a team. They can keep competing, but also their competition amongst themselves need not be to pull each other down, but to actually make each other better as well. So I think this Thomas Cup team has actually proved that you can still have people competing against each other, but also they can come together and compete together and excel together and to bring results together. So I think this has been a revelation in some sense. But yes, there are challenges which we find with multiple people getting involved, and a basic system which which works in the world is a coach-led, athlete-centric system. Sometimes, if you don't really follow that and become either athlete-led, where he is deciding what he wants rather than what he needs, I think becomes a problem. So we also have many issues relating to this because their resources are a lot more for top players today than they've ever been. But I think these are issues which are there, so we can't brush them off. But I think we need to address them in the right manner.
So, like on that note, my next question would be like, what does Gopichand has in him, like that makes him such a wonderful coach as well as a talent spotter?
Well, I think to have spent every day of my life, at least for the last say 35 years, thinking about badminton makes it easier for me because I'm actually looking at that all the time. But also the fact is um, that there's been a lot of God's grace and support from many people, which is actually um, in this journey, which has actually helped me get this.
Like, even though there is no dearth of talent in India, we somehow are not that consistent. What do you think needs to be done differently to bring to make India more consistent?
Well, I think at the moment our struggle is because there are multiple people involved in sport. There is government, there is state associations, there's schools, there is universities, there's sponsors, academies, individuals. So everybody is pulling the player in some different direction. The ideal way is to ensure that the player is pulled by sports science. The ideal way is the player is pulled by somebody who has the knowledge of sport, and that is what should be the case. At the moment, there are too many people in the sport who are involved in influencing the athlete, and that becomes a challenge. So I think one of the biggest things which is needed is to streamline the system where various stakeholders in the sport are actually being taken care of from a sports science perspective.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gopichand. Well, that was Mr. Gopichand, the Chief National Coach for Indian Badminton team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.